Jason, I'll let you describe it, but my takeaway in this is President Unity, who we have right now, who's running around calling everybody Bull Connor if they don't support his agenda, hasn't exactly been the most unifying force. And the economy under Joe Biden and under a black president for whom he was vice president, Barack Obama, was not as good for black voters as it was under the man they've told us, the devil, racist, hater, Donald Trump.
You're exactly right. The blacks in this country fared far better economically under President Trump prior to the pandemic than they ever did under President Obama, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to write this book. It's a story that I think was underreported because the media largely had it in for President Trump from day one. They were quite surprised that he won the election and then spent all of his presidency resisting him instead of covering him. And if they had done their job and reported what was happening in terms of economic inequality under President Trump, they would have had a great story to tell about shrinking income inequality, something they obsess over. And what this really was is a function of the working class writ large getting a boom under Trump. And it just so happens that blacks are disproportionately represented among the working class. So we saw racial inequality shrinking under President Trump, who was presented in the media as this bigot whose policies would harm the prospects of blacks. Instead, we saw, record low unemployment rates, record low poverty rates, and we saw the wages of black workers rising at a faster rate than the wages of white workers.
That's crazy. And yet it totally explains why Trump did improve his numbers with the black vote second time around, with a Hispanic vote second time around, because those folks were thinking about what was in their wallet, not what was on MSNBC.
Absolutely. And one of the problems, you mentioned Joe Biden and the policies he's putting forward here. One of the concerns I have is that he wants to reverse a lot of what President Trump was doing in terms of economic policy, reversing the tax cuts, re-regulating sectors of the economy that were less regulated under Donald Trump. And I'm concerned that they will lead to the same outcomes we saw pre-Trump in these minority communities. And we shouldn't be going backwards. And maybe if more people knew about this economic good news story that occurred under Trump, there'll be more resistance to the types of policies that Joe Biden wants to take us back to. But you're absolutely right. I think what this economic prosperity that we saw in black communities goes a long way towards explaining why Donald Trump improved his showing among both blacks and Hispanics, and particularly men in both of those groups when he ran for re-election. So even though he didn't win, I think that's part of the reason why you saw an uptick in black support and an uptick in Hispanic support.
Mm-hmm. You write in the book about, we covered this at the time, is it Starr County, Texas, that had gone 30 points or 60 points for Hillary Clinton. Yeah. Can you tell us that? Because
I think that was a county in southern Texas that Hillary Clinton had won overwhelmingly and Biden barely won. And it just shows you what the priorities are of some of the people who live in these communities.
Heavily Hispanic county.
Yeah, a very Hispanic county. And what you're seeing here is, during the lockdowns, a lot of people could work from home and continue doing their job. But a lot of the folks we're talking about, these low-income minorities, could not. They were in the service sector. They were in hospitality. And I think that Trump's emphasis on reopening the economy really resonated with them. And that's why we saw that showing in his reelect numbers. Also, they had bigger paychecks. I mean, it's hard. We have to remember just how bad things were for Black Americans economically throughout most of Barack Obama's presidency. It was not until the 7th year of the Obama presidency that the Black unemployment rate fell below double digits, Megyn. I mean, Black folks had it really hard economically under Obama.
He would say that's because he inherited a mess, right, with the financial crisis.
He did, but historically, the deeper the recession, the more robust the recovery. That has been the pattern historically. That is not what happened under Obama. We saw the slowest economic recovery in the post-war period under Obama. And then when Trump got into office, he cut taxes, he deregulated, he focused on growing the economy, and we saw an acceleration in growth, disproportionately helping these groups, Blacks and Hispanics and low-income working class Americans in general. And I think it was related to these policies that he put in place. This is not a book that defends Donald Trump's character. This is a book that defends free market economic policies. Yeah. And Donald Trump put in place a lot of free market economic policies to the benefit of a lot of low-income Americans, a disproportionate number of whom happen to be Black.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can dislike a lot of what Trump tweeted and said, but separate yourself and the way he made you feel in response to reading these things from what the policies did for your fellow Americans. Like, did they work or didn't they? Are we helping the groups that most need help or aren't we? That's what an adult does, not a child who wants to make it all about him or her.
It's also what the media should be doing when they're doing their jobs. And I take the media to task in this book for not doing their jobs, for not following the practices that they traditionally had followed in covering a president. And I think it really was to the detriment of not only their own profession, because who knows how long, if ever, it will take for the media to recover the credibility it lost in the way it covered Donald Trump. But we are just, our conversations in this country are more divisive and all the rest because of the way the media covered this president. And like I said, I think this is a very, very underreported story about the economic gains that certain groups are having. And the media simply played them down or didn't cover them at all because they wanted to present this president as anti-Black, as a racist, and insisted that his policies would be harmful. And so, of course, reporting this would undermine that narrative that they chose to go with, even if it was not rooted in the truth.
Well, and you point out in the book that, yes, the economy was finally starting to do better in Obama's 7th year. So it wasn't like Trump took over from him in year 3 of Obama's term, but that even Larry Summers had predicted that we were going to go back potentially into a recession. Like, the people under Obama were not predicting growth. Trump came in and gave us growth, notwithstanding all the experts saying, don't expect that. That's not how the Trump presidency is going to go. That's not where the economy's going.
Well, you had two things going on. The last year of the Obama presidency, economic growth fell by 50% from what it had been in the previous year. And people like Larry Summers feared that we were headed into another recession. Trump did not inherit a growing economy. He inherited a slowing economy under Obama. And it wasn't just Larry Summers who was predicting this. The Federal Reserve was predicting this. The Congressional Budget Office was predicting this. Everyone thought we were at the end of a business cycle. Unemployment can't go any lower. Job growth can't go any faster without inflationary concerns coming into play. And Trump's proved them all wrong and never got any credit for it. Everyone said, we saw this boom and everyone said, oh, this is just a continuation of what was going on under Obama. Obama was claiming this 2 years into the Trump presidency. Obama was taking credit for the economic growth we saw. Biden was taking credit for it. So again, this is just the media simply not doing its job.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.